What if I told you that one of the most powerful men in history never wielded a sword, never commanded an army, and yet won battles that continue to be fought to this day? In a world where strength is confused with noise and power with domination, Saint Benedict of Nursia emerges as an absolute paradox. He conquered evil not by attacking the world head-on, but by distancing himself from it. It seems contradictory, I know, but perhaps that's precisely where the key lies. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover may completely change the way you see silence, discipline, and true spiritual strength. Benedict was born in a time of collapse. The Roman Empire still existed, but its soul was already rotten. Violence, corruption, excess, and moral decay dominated the cities. While still young, Benedict was sent to Rome to study, as was expected of someone promising. But what he found there was not wisdom nor virtue. It was disorder, a noisy, seductive, confusing world that offered immediate pleasure and left an even greater emptiness afterward. Something inside him began to stir. Have you ever felt that? That feeling that if you continue at the same pace, you will end up losing yourself? While other young people indulged in the pleasures and easy promises of the city, Bento realized something few dared to admit. To save his own soul, he needed to flee. Not out of fear, but out of lucidity. He understood that remaining there would allow the chaos of the world to become inner chaos. So he did the unthinkable. He abandoned his studies, status, family expectations, and any future of prestige. He set off towards silence, anonymity, and solitude. This path led him to Subiaco, to a cold and isolated cave. There, Benedict did not find immediate peace. He found war. The solitude brought to the surface everything that the world usually numbs: disordered thoughts, violent temptations, memories, impulses. The spiritual battle began there, far from witnesses, far from applause. Evil did not present itself as theory, but as a real attack on mind and body. Hunger, fear, despair, profound temptations. It was as if everything he had fled from in Rome had decided to confront him at once. But it was precisely in this abyss that something extraordinary happened. Silence began to shape him. Prayer ceased to be a habit and became his breath. Discipline became his weapon. Benedict learned that evil is not overcome with impulse, but with vigilance, not with violence, but with inner clarity. Little by little, he not only resisted temptations, he learned to recognize them, disarm them, and overcome them before they took root. It is during this period that the first striking supernatural sign appears. They try to poison him with bread. A raven appears and takes the food away. It is not a mystical spectacle, it is a powerful symbol. All of creation seems to protect that man who chose to obey God above all else. From that moment on, Benedict's spiritual presence becomes impossible to ignore. Over time, his fame spreads. Men begin to seek him for guidance. But where there is light, there is resistance. They try to poison him again, this time with wine. Benedict makes the sign of the cross, and the chalice shatters. There are no screams, no violent reaction. There is authority, a silent, firm authority that doesn't need to impose itself. Evil recognizes when it has lost ground. Men began to follow him not because Benedict offered comfort, but because he offered something even rarer: inner order. Thus, the first monasteries were born. And from this concrete life experience, Benedict wrote the rule that would endure for centuries. It is not a rigid code, nor an escape from the world. It is a path of balance: silence, prayer, work, humility, obedience, discipline. Ora et labora. Pray and work, not as punishment, but as a way to align the soul. Over time, Benedict realized that the greatest challenge was not to form obedient men, but men who were inwardly free. Many arrived at the monasteries carrying deep wounds, hidden vices, and pride disguised as virtue. Benedict observed each soul with silent attention, understanding that true discipline was not about controlling people, but about healing inner disorders. He knew that without a clear structure, spiritual life became fragile, vulnerable to the same temptations that dominated the outside world. Therefore, he insisted on balance, neither excessive rigor that destroys, nor permissiveness that corrupts. The rule was not a burden, but a map, a concrete path to prevent chaos from once again dominating the human heart. And this understanding was born from Benedict's own struggle with himself, from the vivid memory of everything he had faced in the solitude of the cave. This practical wisdom allowed Benedict to see dangers before they manifested. He understood that evil rarely presents itself in an obvious way. It almost always infiltrates in small concessions, seemingly harmless thoughts, and poorly guarded habits. Therefore, his spiritual guidance was firm but profoundly human. Benedict did not demand immediate perfection, but vigilance. He taught that each day was a new battle and that no one was definitively safe. This mentality molded his disciples for a life of constant attention, where prayer and work were inseparable. It was in simple, repetitive, and silent work that many learned to control impulses, to contain vanities, and to recognize weaknesses. Benedict transformed common tasks into spiritual exercises, showing that holiness is built in the everyday, not in spectacular moments. Even with the expansion of monasteries, Benedict never allowed himself to be seduced by the idea of power or influence. He avoided public appearances, did not seek recognition, and remained distant from political or religious disputes. His focus remained the same: protecting the inner life. When conflicts arose between monks or communities, Benedict did not react with authoritarianism, but with discernment. He knew that many external crises were reflections of unresolved internal wars. Therefore, his decisions always sought to restore the order of the soul before anything else. This stance made many deeply respect him, not out of fear, but out of trust. There was a silent authority in him that did not need to impose itself. Those who approached him perceived that Benedict spoke from a real experience of spiritual combat, not from theories distant from human reality. As the years passed, Benedict understood with even greater clarity the impact of his mission. He saw monasteries emerge as true beacons in the darkness of an unstable world. While cities fell, wars spread, and values were lost, those communities kept prayer, knowledge, and human dignity alive. Benedict understood that his work was not only spiritual, but also profoundly human and civilizing. He was forming people capable of resisting the moral and spiritual collapse of his time. And perhaps that is why his message transcends centuries with such force, because it speaks not only of religion, but of inner order, self-control, silence, and purpose, virtues that remain urgent at any time, including our own. But Saint Benedict was not merely a spiritual legislator. He possessed gifts that surpassed common understanding: visions, profound discernment, the ability to perceive hidden intentions. He foresaw traps before they were set. He recognized evil before it manifested. He confronted spiritual forces that many prefer to pretend do not exist. Demons were expelled, objects were broken, invisible presences were revealed, not in pursuit of fame, but because light always disturbs the darkness. Even so, Benedict never allowed himself to be overcome by pride. He knew that the greatest danger came not from outside, but from within. Therefore, his vigilance was constant. His entire life was a silent battle to keep his soul ordered before God. He taught that overcoming evil is not about destroying it, but about preventing it from finding a place within us. At the end of his life, Saint Benedict did not die surrounded by human glory. He died as he lived, in prayer, standing, supported by his brothers before the altar. His last gesture is not one of power, but of surrender. It does not seem like a fall, but a peaceful passing. Benedict's legacy spans centuries. His monasteries preserved faith, culture, and knowledge in times of darkness. His rule shaped saints, communities, and even entire civilizations. In a noisy world, he taught the value of silence. In a chaotic world, he revealed the power of discipline. In a world dominated by fear, he showed that evil is not overcome with force, but with inner order. Saint Benedict proved that the greatest battle in life is not against the world, but with what the world awakens within us. If you've made it this far, it's because this story touched something deep inside you. If it resonated with you, comment, "This message was for me." This helps me know that this journey was worthwhile. If you want to continue exploring stories that reveal profound and silent truths, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It helps this message reach those who also need to hear it today. There's a video over here that delves even deeper into this inner journey. Click on it and continue watching it with me.